This episode is brought to you by Accenture. When your advertising operations fall out of sync, everything else follows. Spotify and Accenture are working together to reinvent the rhythm of ad sales, using automation, analytics, and smarter workflows to simplify campaign delivery and access better data across the business. The result? Less time spent on operations, more time connecting brands with the moments and fandoms that matter most. Learn more at accenture.com/Spotify.
What if I told you you only have 12 hours to legally have sex?
To finding true love, or just like a good guy.
From the director of Easy A and Anyone But You.
This whole thing is nuts.
There's nothing traditional about this night.
On August 7th, the clock starts on the summer's biggest rom-com.
I'm Owen.
Allie.
What about you and me?
Monica Barbaro, Callum Turner.
I've been told I'm a 7.
By who? Your mom?
Nah, she thinks I'm a 10.
One night only. Rated R. Only in theaters August 7th.
And now, a special edition of the Toddcast podcast.
Powered by Citywide Mortgage Services, providing complete financing and mortgage services for residential and small commercial businesses. Visit them at citywidemortgage.ca.
Now, here's your host, Todd Hancock.
Yeah, welcome to it, the first part of our Year in Review podcasts. 9 guests this week. We'll do another 9 guests next week as well. And what a year it's been. We've had some incredible conversations, and you'll hear highlights from those this episode. As mentioned, my name is Todd Hancock. I wanted to thank you for being there. We see your messages daily on social media, the chirping, the sharing, and it means a lot. Of course, huge props to all of our sponsors. They are the reason why we're able to continue to create the podcast for you. Looking forward to watching our amazing title sponsor, Citywide Mortgage Services, work their magic with my mortgage renewal coming up in just a few weeks from now. I've known Dara, one of the owners, for a few years now. He's a solid dude, knows what he is doing. They are the real deal when it comes to making home ownership a reality, and they work with everyone. Whether you're a first-time home buyer looking to refinance, their team are experts at what they do. They crunch the numbers, they find the right solution for each client. And after talking with Dara about doing my mortgage, they're personalized their service with every person that they work with. Truly exceptional. My circle is your circle. Use my network to better yours. Thanks to Citywide Mortgage Services for allowing me the luxury of messing around and being creative with this podcast. As mentioned, 9 guests this week in sports. A towering force from the hardwood, known for his dominance in the paint. Played in the NBA, in European leagues as well. A high-octane competitor on the racetrack and a master of the crease, who you'll know both on and off the ice. His story continues to inspire long after his days of playing in net for one of the NHL's most storied franchises. In entertainment, a visionary behind the lens, a healer whose expertise in hypnotherapy has transformed lives, and a wellness advocate blending science and intuition. You'll hear from this week's musical guests in just a second. A dynamic voice from the world of country music, a legendary shredder of one of rock's most iconic bands, and a punk rock percussionist. And coming up shortly in Stop Me If You've Heard This Before, retired MMA fighter John Fitch talking about his extensive career highlights. That is powered by FKP MMA. Learn self-defense, build your self-esteem. Trust that you'll know how to protect yourself and those around you. They are Vancouver's #1 training destination, FKPMMA.com. First, some highlights from our musical guests in this Year in Review podcast, all of whom are powered by the Hawkins Sound Ranch. Get over 20 years experience. Use their state-of-the-art studio. Trust that Corey, the owner, will help elevate your band, elevate your game, and take your sound up a notch. And the best is, well, it's commercial sound on an indie budget. Check them out through thehawkinssoundranch.com. So country star Laura Bryna was a guest in early January. You'll probably best know her for her songs Make a Wish, Life is Good. She shared the stage with absolute superstars like Taylor Swift, Emmylou Harris. Her career goes beyond the music, though. She's all about military causes, is a U.S. Air National Guard spokesperson, a philanthropist, an author, and even a radio host. We talked about all sorts of things. working with Grammy Award-winning producer Damon Sharp, her work with musicians on call, navigating the challenges of COVID, seeing NSYNC in concert, and she talked about touring with Clint Black and pulling 9 Gs in an F-16 jet.
And I also have an American flag that flew with me on my F-16 ride. So when I was doing a bunch of stuff, which I still do with the Air National Guard. So
that's incredible. What's that?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it's really neat. I pulled 9 Gs and I didn't throw up.
Wow. Like some people pass out too, right? Like straight up.
Oh yeah.
Too much.
In fact, I did a tour with Clint Black, and we had actually talked about that because he had done one too, and he was up all over the place.
Oh no.
And I was like, oh no, here are my barf bags.
I did.
9 Gs.
Yeah.
So.
That's crazy. Hey, imagine flying in an F-16 doing 9 Gs. Most people would pass out. Laura talked about being inspired by legends like Etta James and Winona Judd, writing kids' books, her Christmas song wish list, her cover of Joan Jett, and her biggest highlights so far.
It is impossible, but I will say something that does really always stick out to me. I mean, I loved that Musicians on Call, but I mean, because I love giving back. So that's my thing. I'm so fortunate that I got to go on a USO tour right before the pandemic. And it was the week of July 4th. And it was one of the most incredible experiences of my life. I was responsible for singing the national anthem at every performance. And then I also got to do Hometown Heroes, a song that I co-wrote for the Air National Guard. And you know, to go there to Kosovo, Kuwait, an undisclosed location, Jordan, Djibouti, Africa. We went to Spain and Germany. I mean, to sit there, it's 4th of July. So, I mean, that's our independence. But then to go and sing the national anthem in front of all these men and women and everybody sing together on 4th of July or that week. You know, and these men and women have been away for like 9 months, and we're just bringing a little piece of home to them to say thank you. And I remember like going on stage and just kind of just standing there each time for like, to me, I mean, it must have felt like minutes, but for me, it felt like an eternity to people. But I just sat there and I was like, if I never get back here, I want to be a sponge and suck it all in and just soak in this moment. And you look around and you see everybody in their fatigues and there's flags waving. And there you all are singing the song. And every word means something, you know, from the to the flag to the bursting in air and the home of the brave. I mean, it just... These men and women live these words, and I was the one that got to sing it. It's an incredible honor to be able to do that.
And we'll go from a rising country star to Tesla guitarist Frank Hannon, who you heard as a guest in February. And how cool is it to get Frank on? I remember driving to high school almost daily in my buddy Ian's truck. He'd pick me and a buddy up at my buddy Sean's place, and Tesla would be pounding. Like I would say 8 out of 10 times. It was just a different time back then too, right? No cell phones, no internet, just big hair and flashy clothes. Motley Crue was living the sex, drugs, and rock and roll lifestyle. Poison was bringing glam to the party. Rat was sleazy, but in a good way. And Tesla was just straight up blue collar rock. They stood out. They were a little bit more genuine, almost rootsy in comparison to everything else that was out at the time. And hearing Frank talk about the music that helped shape him, his early years, was just so cool.
Well, I can remember being a toddler and going to a barbecue or a party or something with my mom, and there was a band playing in the backyard, and there was a guitar player. And I remember I must have been 2 or 3 years old, and I was like on her shoulders like this. She would carry me around. And I remember a guitar player having a Flying V guitar. Nice. And that image, I can still see it in my mind of this guy playing this thing that was shaped like a Flying V, and it just blowing my mind as a little kid. fast forward to when I was 10 years old, Johnny Cash and the Statler Brothers were playing at the Memorial Auditorium in Sacramento. And that's the first concert that I really remember seeing the Man in Black and hearing his voice. And man, I just was mesmerized. A year later, one of my cousins took me to hear Robin Trower perform at the same auditorium that I saw Johnny Cash the year before. I saw Robin Trower, and that blew my mind. His guitar sound was epic. It just, wow, I'd never heard a guitar sound so good in my life. Then my mother took me to see a movie called Monterey Pop Festival. And that is the movie footage that has Jimi Hendrix playing Wild Thing. And when he sets his guitar on fire. Have you seen that footage?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's iconic. But seeing that in a movie when I was like 10 years old really flipped me out, watching Jimi Hendrix do that. Yeah.
Isn't it crazy to think that, like, you know, your band Tesla, that's some people's first concert experience?
Yeah, I hear that a lot, you know. And then I also hear at every show, parents and grandparents are bringing their kids to see Tesla, and oh, this is his first concert or her first concert ever, and we get to meet those kids, and it's amazing. Yeah, there's nothing like being at a concert. One of the first concerts I ever saw was Day on the Green in Oakland Coliseum, big outdoor stadium. Hearing the Scorpions for the first time on their Blackout tour. You know, I'll never forget that.
Nice. Brilliant album. Like, full on. Those guys were just killing in the early 80s, eh? Like, killing.
Yes, sir.
I love how open Frank was talking with us. I mean, honestly, I fully prepped and was borderline geeking out talking to him about Tesla. I think he knew that I was an Uber fan. We talked about the beginning. They formed in Sacramento, California back in 1981, writing the first couple of albums, untouchable albums, really, like Mechanical Resonance, The Great Radio Controversy, track by track. They are freaking outstanding. Frank talked about playing in Vegas, touring with David Lee Roth, the party years. He recommended a few rock autobiographies, talked about seeing Johnny Cash in concert as a kid, getting back to work after COVID and the pandemic. And what's the deal with his book, Modern Day Cowboys? Is he still working on that?
Man, no, I mean, I'm amazed. I'm laughing because I'm amazed that you picked up on those details, man. I have a lot of ideas. A lot of them do pan out. You know, out of 10 things that I dream up, 2 or 3 of them actually come to fruition in a timely manner. That one's still far away because I haven't been able to really sit down. I've got notes and scribbles and ideas here and there, but I do understand why a guitar player or a musician would need a writer, a ghost writer to collaborate with to help them put it together.
Yeah. I can understand that too. Like the daunting process of like, where do I start? How does it go? Like, how deep do I dive? All that shit, right?
Yeah. If I got to sit down and type in front of a laptop for like hours and hours and hours and hours, it's probably not going to happen. So I think, you know, Brian Wheat wrote a book, and I think what you have to do, I don't know this for a fact, but I think you have to get an actual book writer, author person to sit down with you for like a week. And they just ask you questions just like we're doing in this interview. And they dictate it, and then they turned it into a book.
That's right. Yeah. Brian's book's called Son of a Milkman. I read that. That's a good book. Yeah.
Yeah. You know, my life is an open book already, man. You know, go to my Instagram page. I throw it all out there. I put pictures out there. I always, you know, throw everything out there anyway. So
it will take you from Tesla's lead guitarist to Gob's drummer, Gabe Mantle. Gabe jumped the Zoom with us back in March. He's a longtime buddy of the podcast. We've known each other a long time because of my time doing Seafox's afternoon show. The band itself goes back to 1993. Gabe and I don't go that far back, but probably something like in the early 2000s. And if you've kept up with Gob, you'll know that the late 90s were big. They blew up the band. They got a Juno nomination for the Best New Group in 2000. They didn't win, but of course it's nice to get recognized. That same year, their album, The World According to Gob, was huge in Vancouver. They were getting a ton of radio play and playing big shows too, might I add. You'll love the story that Gabe shares about playing the Vans Warped Tour and a show specifically in Calgary.
We were really lucky. We got to play at UBC a couple times here, and it was we were sandwiched in between. It was like Eminem,
yeah,
and it was Eminem and like Green Day, in the middle kind of thing. And
yeah,
we had some crazy times on that Warped Tour. I remember one time to me that really sticks out. It was great here. We had crazy shows here in Vancouver, but I remember one time in Calgary, and you show up at the Warped Tour, and the way it used to be is that you didn't know the time you were on until you got there at 11 a.m.
Really?
So everyone gets it at the same time, and of course, no effects in those bands. They know they're going to be near the end of the show, but the bands like say Gob, we didn't know. Like it could be like we could literally be on first, or we could be on last. And so we get there, and it was the year that Green Day was on it. One of the years that Green Day was on with us, and this is in Calgary, and we get there at 11, and they're like, "You're going on last. You're going on after Green Day." And I'm just like, oh my God. So I'm like,
whoa,
sweating the whole day. It's like, oh no, how's this going to be? Everyone's going to leave. How are we going to go on after Green Day? And so it gets to the time, and we're kind of setting, because there used to be two stages right side by side.
Yeah.
Green Day's playing, and we're setting up. You're setting up on the other side at the same time as they're playing, and what happened was I'm like looking out. We're setting up, and all of a sudden, what happens is that like the whole crowd starts going Gob, Gob, Gob while Green Day was playing.
What?
They're louder than Green Day, like, and I'm like, okay, we're gonna be all right. And we went on, and you know what? Everyone stuck around, and it was just we kicked ass. I mean, back in those days, like it was a big deal. Like we would, we got to go on after Green Day, and everyone stayed. We were the headliner, and like
that is crazy.
It was crazy, man. And we would go out after, and go to the merch booth, and we'd be like, this is great. And there'd be all these people on. We would sell like $50,000 in merch, and to us, like you can only imagine, like that's like say I don't know, that feels like Taylor Swift numbers to me or something. It's just totally it's so insane. And we came from like all ages shows where if you sold $500, you're stoked kind of thing, right? So to go to that, to like playing with Green, headlining over Green Day kind of thing, and
wow,
sell like 50,000 in merch. It was like, what the hell is going on? And it was humble beginnings, like literally. It's like a 6-pack of beer and a couple pieces of pizza and a kick in the ass, and there you go, boys.
Like, happy about that. Sounds great. We'll play the show. Why not?
Yeah, exactly.
What a great story. And calling Gob one of Canada's best punk bands of all time is not a stretch. And the cool thing, of course, they're still going strong today. Super cool to hear Gabe talking about all sorts of things. The Canucks came up, lifting the Stanley Cup. And hey, this year's roster with Demko, Hughes, Miller, Pedersen, Tocchet, this could be our year, right? I mean, that truly sounds like something a Canucks fan would say. Gabe talked about binging Better Call Saul and Workaholics. Spider-Man came up, Batman, Superman, Archie comics. He shared a story about seeing the Police in concert. We talked about gambling, Bob Marley, ABBA, the Rolling Stones, Star Wars, and he shared the music that was in his house as a kid growing up.
I grew up in a crazy way. I grew up, my dad played every instrument, literally every single instrument. And, he had thousands of records. And so
nice.
I would just listen, go through his thing. And so again, he played every instrument, but the drums. So, it's kind of like, I almost feel like it was one of the reasons that I got into playing the drums, because I could jam with my dad.
Yeah.
And I was little. I would jam with my dad, and then again listen to his Bob Marley records and his Rolling Stones records and his the Kinks records, and it goes on and on. Miles Davis, and those just every record that you could think of. My dad had pretty much. I mean, he wasn't into the disco, and he wasn't into so he hated ABBA.
Really?
But,
and like ABBA is one of the best songwriting bands of.
I personally love ABBA. Like I'm again, my dad. He's not maybe that stoked that I say this, but I love ABBA. And on the other hand, my mom, she was a DJ. She was a DJ, like a professional DJ at say, essentially the gay clubs down here in Vancouver.
Wow, no kidding.
Like celebrities and at Love Affair, back in those old days, and she would also do tapes for the runway model shows, and so she brought me into the music of like kind of almost the gay type of music, or say more like like the new wave stuff, the beginnings of new wave, even before they call it new wave. So like say Duran Duran and
Pet Shop Boys and
like just those early bands that were like the DJ type bands that would be in the dance club. So I kind of got that too, but for me, it's like the bands that mattered to me when I was a little kid. It was like the Police. That was one of the big ones. The Clash. And then a little bit later on, Metallica. Like when Metallica came out and say Motorhead.
Yeah.
Those bands, those are the ones that like got me like, oh, okay, yeah, I can you really can let out that, rather than go beat some kid up or have a fight or whatever, you can just, crank that music in your bedroom and like bounce off the wall. And that's kind of what excited me.
Toddcast Podcast musical guest visits are powered by the Hawkins Sound Ranch. Use their 20-plus years of experience to record at their state-of-the-art studio. Commercial sound on an indie budget. Visit thehawkinssoundranch.com for more.
What the mind can do. I swear I'm capable of putting on a smile. It happens naturally. I can't just be who you want me to be. I can't just be who you want me to be. Try to speak, but my words do not suffice. My actions left unnoticed, falling on blind eyes. I can't say I didn't fuck up, but you can't say I didn't try. Now I'm left to wait and wonder till I get a reason why. I'm impossible. Try to
The Toddcast podcast is powered by Milano Coffee, bringing you the finest espresso and coffee concepts in the world. Online at milanocoffee.ca. And now, stop me if you've heard this before on the Toddcast podcast.
Chances are you'll best know MMA fighter John Fitch as a retired welterweight champ. He went 14-3-1 in the UFC, was PFL champ, challenged in Bellator, truly one of the greats of the sport. He actually started his career as a light heavyweight. He went 4 wins, 2 losses, and 1 no contest. Trained with the American Kickboxing Academy, which is widely recognized as one of the best camps in the world. Fitch, Cormier, Khabib, Makhachev, BJ Penn, Mike Swick, some beasts have come out of that academy. John had an issue with the UFC using his name and likeness in their video games, which you'll hear all about in the full conversation if you check it out. He talked about how GSP was his toughest fight. No doubt, George, one of the best to ever do it. John touched on fighting in the PFL, Bellator, training specifically for fighters, binging true crime dramas, Pantera, Tool, and Tom Petty came up. So did Cheech and Chong and George Carlin. Superpowers, football, sports injuries. And stop me if you've heard this before. John talked about his career highlights. Listen to how candid he is.
One career highlight? Man, the fight week, the whole 10 days or so that I was in Brazil for that fight with Eric Silva, that was just the whole, and honestly, the training camp, like you could literally write a movie about it, I think, because the situation I was in, like the UFC clearly did not like me. They wanted to get rid of me. They brought me to Brazil to lose. All the cards were stacked against me. Younger, more exciting fighter. This guy was it. He was the next GSP. That's what they were selling him. They're calling the King of Rio. I had to go into his backyard, and just everything I was going through at home, because like I was hurting for money. I was hurting for money. I was trying to pay two mortgages at the time. Just a situation. Like I called it. I said, I'm going to win this fight, and it's going to be the fight of the night, and I'm going to get a big fat bonus. And it happened. I Babe Ruthed it. I picked my shot. I called it.
Pointed like, there we go.
At the beginning, so I can't remember what it is in Portuguese, but they chant this thing: "You're gonna die. You're gonna die." Right? That's what they say, especially when you're up against the Brazilian guy.
Sure.
By the beginning of the 3rd round, I started pumping the crowd up. Like the crowd started cheering for me in that fight. I had a Rocky moment in that situation, and that was just one of the most epic experiences I've ever partaken in.
Yeah, that's incredible to go somewhere else, go to somebody else's backyard, and have their fans start to cheer for you.
Yep. And then and like love me for it, and like it was great. And I got a few days to hang out in Brazil, and we went to the edge of the rainforest and hung out, had some nice coffee and some great food. And it was just amazing. It was an amazing trip.
That's got to be one of the best things about what you did.
I think that's probably the biggest reason why I started fighting, was because when I didn't go on a lot of vacations when I was a kid. We went to Florida a few times. We didn't go to a lot of places. But when I started wrestling at Purdue, we got to drive and travel to different places, and that was awesome. I got to see different parts of America, and stay in different hotels, and that was just really fun to me. So when I started fighting, it was just a bigger part of that. Like my 4th fight ever, I got to go to Mexico. Like it's crazy. I only made like $400, but it was still fun.
But you were in Mexico.
Yeah, but I was in Mexico, man. It was great.
Stop Me If You've Heard This Before on the Toddcast podcast is powered by FKP MMA, Vancouver's #1 training destination at fkpmma.com. And now, highlighting our next Blue Light Sessions, powered in part by Canadian Club Whiskey. Meet your new cold one. We serve Canadian Club and Ginger ready-to-drink cocktails at all of our live shows. Visit canadianclub.com today.
Gene on Gene at the Rivoli on Queen. We locked eyes, a couple of kids singing all the to now. All this time, still can't dance to save my life. 3 years later, I'm surprised. She is still the Lucy to my wrecking eyes. Said I've known Chris Hadfield, holy bull, I'm seeing stars when you orbit around me. She said you probably think you're real funny. Wait a little while, you'll be out of style with that Joni Mitchell smile. She said, do I look alright in a Canadian tuxedo tonight? Yeah, honey, you look just like a young Ivani Carter. My eyes, nothing better than denim on denim. Take me to the store, watch heaven. Yeah, honey, you're driving me wild in that Canadian tuxedo tonight. Denim on denim, what could be better than denim on denim on denim? Denim on denim, what could be better than denim on denim on denim? So I said, do I look alright in a Canadian tuxedo tonight? Yeah, honey, you look just like a young Galactic Michael. My eyes, nothing better than denim on denim. Take me to your store, watch heaven. Yeah, babe, you're driving me wild in that Canadian tuxedo. In that Canadian tuxedo. In that Canadian tuxedo tonight. Yeah, yeah, tuxedo.
In a Canadian tuxedo tonight. The band is the Vitoes. They are the headliner of our 10th anniversary party next month. On January 31st, the Blue Light Studio in beautiful East Vancouver. Colin Sankey will open up the night. Cobra Ramon and Patrick Gavigan and friends are also playing, and hopefully you can make it out. Show some support to the podcast. 10 years, check. 10 years is done. Starting year 11 next week, and that is insane. Considering I literally originally thought that I'd get like maybe 10, I don't know, maybe 20 podcasts in, and I just go back to doing radio like I did for 20 years prior to that. So same as our monthly shows, there's an interview portion, there's a performance portion, intimate, interactive. If you want to ask the band's questions as well, fire away. Pick up a ticket before you can't through eventbrite.ca. Event, B-R-I-T-E. Eventbrite.ca. 20 bones right now. Doors are at 7 o'clock. The show starts at 8-ish. You heard something from last Friday's podcast show, Cloudsick, and that was their song called In Between, and just a killer set from those guys. I wanted to make sure to plug the bands and songs that I thought were the highlights of 2024 in this and next week's podcast. And Cloudsick is about the best new band to come out of Vancouver in quite some time. And it turns out they're super nice guys as well, which is cool. All right, so coming up in just a few minutes in Listen to This, drummer Brooke Colucci recommends a couple rock autobiographies for you to check out. That, as always, is powered by our great friends Tedco RV Supplies in Langley. RV service and repairs, they are ICBC accredited, and they're coming up on 9 years sponsoring the podcast. Absolutely key to why we've been able to continue making these podcasts over the years. Big love to those guys. You can check them out online through Facebook and Twitter at Tedco RV Supplies. First, let's get back to more guest highlights in this Year in Review podcast and some sporting guest visits, all of whom are powered by Sacred Meds, Canada's best online dispensary by a landslide. Cannabis, psilocybin, psychedelics. You can shop now through sacredmeds.co. That's sacredmeds.co. We're talking weed, mushrooms, edibles, vapes, DMT, CBD, hash, oils. It's a crazy good website. Again, through sacredmeds.co. So retired NBA center Acie Earl was a guest in mid-January. You'll know him best from his time playing in the NBA with the Celtics, with the Raptors. Mid-90s, played 4 seasons, a first-round draft pick back in 1993, 19th overall, same year that was Chris Webber and Penny Hardaway. After he left the NBA, Acie played globally. Played in leagues in France and Australia, Turkey, Russia, China, Poland, Kosovo, Montenegro, Austria. Like, he talked about the differences of playing in the NBA and those European leagues.
Tons, because of the level. Like, I played 12 years, 8 countries. So, like, you know, now most of the Eastern Bloc countries are the same. Like, you know, Poland, Russia, like that style of play, Serbia, Montenegro, like that style of play is pretty much the same. You know, Western style of play in France and Germany and, you know, Turkey to a point a little bit, was different. You know, Australia is different than China, you know, so it's like, you know, tons of differences, you know, of the play. So each country was different, but I had more success in the Eastern Bloc countries because I contribute to a couple of things. One, I had a high basketball IQ. I always had a high basketball IQ. When I play in those countries, you play with a lot of former Yugo play, you know, Croatian, Serbian, you know, Montenegro, Bosnia, Slovenia. So they have a high basketball IQ. Mm-hmm. And then 2, I played my rookie year with Dino Raja, or 2 years with Dino Raja. And so Dino was, you know, probably the premier between him and Petrovic and Tony Kukoc and Vladi. Those are probably the 4 premier European players at the time. And I played for his coach in France. And Dino gave me a good recommendation. Actually, the first day in practice, they called each other on the cell phone, and Dino like gave me a recommendation. So then about every year I played with a guy who Dino knew or played with. So it was always like, yeah, that guy's a good guy. That guy works hard. That guy shares the ball. That guy's not going to dog it. Like, yeah. So like that was, you know, as I look back, that was a great, you know, point where, you know, Dino really set me up for success in some of those countries.
Yeah, pretty cool to hear him talking about the differences of leagues, hey? And outside of basketball, Acie dove into writing. That's actually why he was a guest. Not the sports angle, it was the writer angle. His book, 135 Most Influential Rap and Hip-Hop Songs of All Time and Why, had just been released. A deep dive into the tracks that shaped the genre.
We did not rank them. So we did not rank the artists.
Okay, so it's a little bit easier, but still hard though.
Well, I mean, you could rattle off 10 or 15 in 15 seconds.
Sure.
Right. And that's what we did. Like me and my buddy Hans, my ex-roommate, who introduced me to hip hop, you know, New York gritty hip hop for a while. You know, I'm from the Midwest, so a lot of that New York stuff I wasn't into, especially when I went to Boston. When I went to Boston, I got into it more because New York, right?
Sure.
And then Toronto has, you know, influence in New York. So like my East Coast stay really got me into more hip hop. So like, yeah, like I said, so when we did the book, it's not a ranking nor the best song. It's the most influential hip hop and rap songs of all time. So it's not just females or males or groups or artists or genres or eras. It's just everything hodgepodge. So it's like I said, we wanted to kind of hit everybody who had an influence, right? Not just like the popular stuff. So we got some names in here people would have not known. I actually have 2 overseas artists.
Oh, great. So there's going to have to be a little bit of Google searching.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's all on YouTube music. So
yeah, of course.
That's the beauty of it. Yeah.
And was there ever a time where you thought like, oh man, I've bitten off more than I could chew to write this, or?
Well, no, because like whenever I did, I called Hans and we would have to sit down and I'd say, hey, I got these 4 people or 4 songs. Am I on point with this? And he'd be like, yay or nay. And so like I got the first 7,500, and then I called some other people too. Well, one person from the West Coast, another Midwest artist. Actually, me and Jimmy King collaborated on a couple things as well. He's a big hip hop guy. So it's like I had enough people in my camp I can get enough feedback from.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? The issue is I had to make sure that the research part was right, like why we chose that person and why that was true.
From a retired NBA center to a model that you'll know as a race car driver as well, Kristen Strout. Her everyday driver is an Infiniti G37. Pretty nice car. And you got to think it goes like stink, especially with her heavy right foot, right? You got to have that to race cars. Adrenaline and speed. She says she feels zen-like focus before the race and thanks her dad and her uncle for getting her into cars.
Actual race car driving was later in life, but like cars since I was like a kid, always loved cars. I was such a tomboy. I didn't have like Barbies and stuff. I had Hot Wheels and Power Rangers and all that in my little like 4x4 Power Wheels truck.
Yeah.
And my dad, he was a Mustang guy, and my uncle, he was the Corvette guy, and he was also a Harley guy. So I just really I think all that passion started with my uncle. My mom used to always be like, I think you got his genes, like you're super adrenaline junkie tomboy and like super like math, science, smart. And that was him. And he would restore Corvettes, and he would like soup up golf carts and go-karts and put it like wheels and sound systems and stuff on them. And he was into like guns. He'd let me like shoot guns. He'd take me on the motorcycle and stuff, like since I was like little. So I was like, it's my cool uncle. So like I was always into them.
And no surprise, really. It's usually your parents that introduce you to the things that are your passion, right? Or at least have a hand in it in some sort of way, I've found. As we do, we go deep with Kristen, and we talked about seeing concerts, bands like Seether, Evanescence, and 3 Days Grace. We talked about real estate, flipping houses, and modeling, how she juggles all that. We talked about Motor Mia, which is an automotive tech startup that she's been working hard to grow. She played in the Lingerie Football League, and yes, we did talk about that. Nashville's nightlife came up, how she was born and raised on naval bases. She shared a near-death motorcycle story, and how nothing comes close to the rush of racing.
No, so what's funny too is like I thought track days were so much fun and I love them, but an actual race, nothing like it, 10 times more. And because I had done like open passing at track days, but still no one really like got as close and as aggressive as like they did in actual racing. And that was like kind of new to me, or like getting off my line and like adjusting like to that sometimes got kind of scary because I'm like off. I don't know if I can take this turn now. But it was just, the adrenaline rush and whatever was amazing. Like our stints were 2-hour stints, like at that race. And I remember my mom's like, I would be so bored, like driving around the same track for like 2 hours. And I was like,
no, Mommy,
no way. And I was like, it went by so fast. It's funny because I'm like, there's no way that was like 2 hours. I'm like, I feel like I just got in the car.
And we'll take you from an adrenaline junkie race car driver to a retired NHL goaltender and mental health advocate, Corey Hirsch. Corey jumped Zoom to be a guest in late March, and here's a guy you have to recognize his impact both on and off the ice. Read his book, The Save of My Life. He opens up about his own struggles and continues to push for the destigmatization of mental health. His bravery has no doubt inspired others to get the help they need as well. Listen to Corey talk about what you should do if you're struggling with mental health issues.
First things first, go see your doctor. And tell them what's going on. They've heard it all. They've seen it all. That's your first step. That's your first place you go. And don't be afraid to tell your doctor what's going on. Your brain's going to make you a prisoner. It's going to make you try to not get help. and because it wants you to stay sick, right? That's what your brain does. So the best thing you can do is go see your family doctor and not listen to the BS your brain is telling you. And from there, it'll give you a referral to psychologist, psychiatrist, whatever you need to do. But ultimately, the work's up to you, right? If you want to go and stay on your meds and you want to, do the mental health work and the therapy and all that stuff, then ultimately, you got to be your own savior. But the help is there. Go see your family doctor.
Take that first step.
Take that first step, man. Doctors have heard it. They've seen it all. I've got some doctor friends. They have some of the most heinous stories I've ever heard.
Right.
So they've seen it all. They've got. It's pretty good.
It really is impressive what Corey's done for mental health awareness. And of course, his time in the NHL is equally impressive. Played from 1995 through to 2002 with the Rangers, the Stars, Capitals, the Vancouver Canucks. Finished his career with a 2.93 goals against average. Certainly one of the best tenders the Canucks have ever had. We talked puck from the little leagues as well, all the way up. Growing up in Calgary, winning the WHL's Memorial Cup, Olympic silver at the 1994 Winter Games in Norway. World Series of Poker came up, so did Superstitions and music from Kiss to Prince. He shared his first concert story, a near-death experience that he had over in Romania, superpowers, realizing potential, and what still stands out from his NHL draft day.
Oh, man. I think it was more relief than anything, because I got passed over the year before. So you don't really know if you're going to get drafted, right? The next year, it used to be different. The draft used to be different. When you were 17, you could only get drafted in the first 3 rounds. So I got passed over, and then the next year, you really don't know because now you're in a pool of a lot of different players. I ended up getting drafted in the 8th round by the New York Rangers, and it's pretty cool. I remember I was working at a car wash. I was at a car dealership washing cars. And they brought me a cake and everything, but it was more relief than anything when you get drafted.
Toddcast Podcast Sporting Guest Visits are powered by Sacred Meds, Canada's best online dispensary for cannabis, psilocybin, and psychedelics. Shop now at sacredmeds.co.
Truck Beer, delivered fresh, the official beer of the Toddcast podcast.
And now, listen to this on the Toddcast podcast.
You'll know Pearl Drum's sponsored drummer Brooke Colucci as the former drummer for Plush. And since leaving that band, she's become somewhat of an internet sensation. She has a massive following, almost 400,000 people alone on Instagram. Recently, she's been playing and touring with Till Lindemann. And when Brooke was a guest, we talked a lot about music, as you would expect, the bands that inspired her, like Zeppelin, Godsmack, Sevendust, the music that she grew up around. And we talked about other things as well, like aliens visiting Earth, binge-watching the Gilmore Girls. She shared a near-death story. Wonder Woman and comic books came up. And Brooke recommended a couple rock autobiographies that you should check out as well. Listen to this.
Oh, okay. I recommend Debbie Harry's biography. I actually have it right underneath my computer. I have like stacked up books, so it's the same right height. But I have it right here. That's really good.
Rad.
I enjoyed reading that. I read Liberty DeVito's autobiography or biography, which one it is. That was good. John Bonham's is also really good too.
I haven't read that. Like, I don't know how I haven't read that, but
yeah, it's titled Beast, I think.
Aptly named.
Oh yeah,
like
sure.
the best. I want to recommend for you, because I knew that you'd be into this. If you haven't read Sammy Hagar's, it's called Red, R-E-D, Red. That's awesome. Yeah. And then Life by Keith Richards is like, speaking of the Stones, way back there. Insane. Those guys live an insane life.
Yeah. It's super interesting hearing about like how, because I read about some of this in like the Liberty DeVito book and stuff, like back then in like the 70s, 80s, like their touring and stuff is like so different than any touring that I've experienced.
Right.
It's crazy.
Yeah, it's nuts, right? It's like, holy man, the stories are just insane in these books. It's awesome.
And then like when I went on tour, it like wasn't insane. Like everybody, like in the books, it's depicted that like everybody's doing drugs and like girls are everywhere and that sort of thing. And like it wasn't like that when I was on tour.
Listen to This on the Toddcast podcast is brought to you by Tedco RV Supplies in Langley, an ICBC approved repair shop. Visit them on Facebook and Twitter at Tedco RV Supplies.
Got no reason to sweat, 'cause I got the last laugh. Yeah, I'm on the fast track to the rest of my life. I kicked out the guilty, made room for the pleasure, feeling light as a feather, floating up to cloud 9. So I'ma let loose my beats and the pressure, learn to love a little better, in a different state of mind. I'ma let loose, feel the magic of the moment. It's gone before you know it, and you can't get back the time. So I'ma let loose, ooh, 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 ooh. I'ma let loose, ooh, ooh. What's the use in holding on to my perfect composure? The little devil's on my shoulder, getting blinded by my light. They can't handle it when I let loose my beats and the pressure, learn to love a little better, in a different state of mind. I'ma let loose, feel the magic of a moment. It's gone before you know it, and you can't get back the time. So I'ma let loose, ooh, ooh, ooh. you know it, and you can't get back the time. So I'ma let loose. Ooh, ooh, ooh. I'ma let loose. Ooh, ooh. Hey, I'ma let loose. I'ma let loose. I'ma let loose. I'ma let loose. Come on, I'ma let loose. I'ma let loose. I'ma let loose.
I swear she just gets better and better with each release. I guess that's what they're aiming for. Sadie Campbell, that song's called Let Loose, new music for the Toddcast. You can find that one on her latest album called Metamorphosis. Sadie's actually down in Nashville now. She's been down there for the better part of a decade, maybe more now. And as you can hear, she is absolutely thriving, killing it. Super proud of what Sadie's up to, as she and I used to work together back in the day, back in the Seafox days. And she was always just the coolest, just the sweetest person, and super happy that she's doing so well down there. You heard a band called Murderers and a punishing song for those guys called Thoughts and Prayers. They have to be one of the best new bands in Vancouver as well. One of the best albums of 2024 locally anyway. I think there's like 6 or 7 songs on it, and every single song is great. So I guess it's an EP, right, with 6 or 7 songs. Anyway, like literally every song, keep an ear to the ground for live shows coming out of those guys in the new year. I've been talking smack with them about maybe getting their shit together and playing something for the podcast. So we'll see how I make for headway. Southern Death Threat, by the way, is getting back together to do something with the podcast in May. I think maybe June. Murderers would be an excellent opening band for that. Speaking of live music, check out the concert calendar at toddhancock.ca. I post the shows that the bands send me, of course, the ones that I think you should go check out, the ones you give us a little bit of time to. If you're playing a show, if you're going to a show, if it's indie, let me know about it. I will get it up at the site, get some free advertising, maybe play a song as well. Of course, that would mean that you would need to get me your music, though. And while you're there at toddhancock.ca, read our featured news. It's mostly music and entertainment. There's sometimes sports from time to time, all of which is powered by the Home Dwell Group, longtime friends of the podcast. Like literally, I've known one of the guys since grade 6. If you're buying a home, you're selling your house, contact them today. They'll make it super easy for you through homedwell.ca. Okay, our final guests of this episode 352, this week's entertainment and lifestyle guests, powered by Thrive Management. They're an event staffing agency here in Canada, one of our biggest, one of our best. Models, brand ambassadors, we're talking operations and sales, TV, film, trade shows, you name it. They can help dial up your next event, big or small. And they're in major cities across the country. Find out more through thrivemanagement.ca. You heard photographer Paul Jendrasiak on the podcast in mid-January. We'd recently followed each other on social media. His socials, by the way, packed with super amazing pictures of so many great rock bands. He was definitely someone that I wanted to have on the podcast as soon as I started following and I wanted to hear his stories. We talked about what you don't necessarily need an expensive camera. iPhones can take amazing pictures. Paul mentions how tech has advanced so much, especially with the rise of AI, that it's incredible what you can achieve with just a smartphone. We talked a lot about music too, generational differences, especially around Gen X, seeing Pantera live, touched on Kiss's Gene Simmons, how he can be intimidating, how grunge ultimately took over hair metal. On Paul's official website, he says his love affair with music started in his teenage years. His dad bought him a guitar at the age of 14, inspired by rock legends like Eddie Van Halen, Steve Vai, Yngwie Malmsteen. Like most cool people, Paul had long hair in high school. But at 18, he put the guitar down and started interviewing rock stars instead. Not long after that, he went behind the camera, taking pictures of all these rock stars at concerts, starting off with one of the best rock bands of the last 30 years.
Well, I mean, it was kind of, I suppose, the first show I photographed was the Black Crowes, and seeing the Black Crowes back then in 1990 was like probably seeing a early version of the Rolling Stones and the
Sure,
Small
100%.
Faces.
Yeah.
And that was the first concert that I had a photo pass for. Unfortunately, I didn't know that you had pit access, so my shots were all from the balcony. They weren't that great, but they're special to me. I mean, if you know what I mean, because they're your first. And so I kind of figured it out. And the first show that I shot, that I realized, oh, okay, maybe I am pretty good. And it was kind of funny, I suppose. There was a band called Dread Zeppelin.
I remember that. It was like a reggae Zepp.
Yes. And I photographed them, and I had a pretty good shot of the lead singer. And I thought, oh, maybe I'm not too bad. And the magazine I was shooting for, the editor, looked at that picture and said, oh, yeah, that's really good. And I thought, oh, okay. So then, it was just, you're shooting film back then. I mean, we're in this digital world these days. I mean, people are going back to film, but when you're shooting shows, you don't know if you got what you think you got, and because of the lighting and all that. And so it took a little bit of trial and error, but I mean, right off the bat, I was, photographing acts like REO Speedwagon, Megadeth, Slayer, Ted Nugent. I was getting some nice shots, but I mean, what I think a lot of times you're doing, no matter what you're doing, you're emulating. You see in a rock magazine, well, these shots, I like these types of shots. So you yourself go out there and try to emulate those. The same thing. I interviewed musicians. First musician I ever interviewed was Gene Simmons. I was a couple of days out of high school, 18 years old. So if you're going to dive in at the deep end of the pool, I guess.
Sure, sink or swim. Yeah.
And how incredible is that story, right? You've probably seen Paul's stuff. He's been published in some very big magazines: Guitar Player, Vintage Guitar, Hit Parader, Kerrang, Burn, Young Guitar, even Ernie Ball campaigns. It's pretty amazing. And oddly enough, none of that stuff that I just mentioned is his career highlight.
I mean, I think photography is obviously something that I've come back to. So, I mean, I think, with something that I would be remembered for would be photography. I was fortunate enough a few years ago to have an exhibition at a museum here in Michigan. So I'm proud of that. Proud of my photography from a professional perspective. But I enjoy, creating and communicating. I think that's something that's been kind of a natural aspect for me, I suppose.
And we'll go from a pro photographer to a hypnotherapist and Reiki master teacher named Magda Baptista. She jumped to Zoom with us in early February. Reiki, if you've never heard of it, is a Japanese healing technique that uses touch to promote relaxation, reduce stress, and enhance your overall well-being in a holistic way. And following Magda on social media, you really get the feeling for her positive energy. She's encouraging, friendly, uplifting.
Various scientific people will proclaim that everything is energy. Everything is energy. And Reiki is an energy healing. So it's different from hypnotherapy, and yet they work well together, because you spoke about hypnotherapy and now you're talking about Reiki. So I just want to make sure that we understand that there's two different modalities or two different healing techniques and tools, yet they work well together. So Reiki is life force energy. And with Reiki, we're able to realign the chakras. So the chakras, there are 7 chakras with which we work with in Reiki. So there's more than 7 chakras in our field. So chakras are energy fields that when they are blocked, we start seeing these roadblocks, as I was talking before, on our path. So as we clear them, as we align them, we're able to manifest faster. We're able to feel more balanced in life. So that's the Reiki part. The hypnotherapy is really the subconscious programming that we have that we can change in order to also start manifesting what we want in our life in a more positive way or in a more aligned way.
I think we talked with Magda for about 25 minutes about all sorts of things like high school ambitions, her love of teaching kids, her experience helping others at the Tony Robbins events, which is very cool. Yeah, Magda was open about talking about all sorts of things like seeing Britney Spears in concerts, her thoughts on self-esteem, her love for the piano, her appreciation for Rufus Del Sol. We talked about negativity and dealing with the naysayers, whether she feels pressure to be a good role model on social media, and the importance of setting goals.
Definitely. So when I wake up and I am sticking to my routine, I love to set goals every day. So for my day, I have 3 things I must accomplish. And then I have those extra things that I can accomplish either today, tomorrow, or throughout the week. And then I love to reflect on it at night. So I have a tool that I use. I don't know if you know Brendan Bouchard. He's a high performance coach, and I love to use his planner. So every day there's a set of questions that I fill out. How am I going to be mindful today? And what are the 3 goals that I must achieve for today, or 3 tasks that I must achieve? And then there's a weekly analysis that you go through. To be totally honest, this is what I love to do. Do I do it every single day? Not always. Sometimes I skip. Like on weekends, I like to just go with the flow and be adventurous. Yeah. But yeah, I like to set them on a regular basis.
And we'll take you from a hypnotherapist, Reiki master teacher, to a health and wellness expert. Ashlie was a guest in mid-March. And when you really get down to it, think about this. Health and wellness are the cornerstone of a long life, especially as you get older. You really do start to think about it and actually prioritize it because they bring you happiness. Everything from balanced nutrition to regular exercise, it really becomes more important as you get older. And Aeryon gets it. She is a grinder. Everything takes energy. She's super busy. After talking to her, you really get the sense of what goes into running something like aeronwellness.com. On the homepage, she writes in bold, transform your health, and in caps locked, empower yourself. No doubt, super inspiring. And then you find out that she was on Dragon's Den and got 3 offers.
It has been really, the big thing with Aeryon Wellness, and this is how we, this is the huge differentiating factor and got me on Dragon's Den in 2022. And I walked away with 3 offers. And what that was is we have a program with every product. So when you scan that QR code on the label, it takes you to 2 meal plans, workouts, videos, affirmations, education, and that all comes from the 5 pillars, right? So I'm not saying I don't have a magic pill. I wish I did. But what it is doing, it is giving the consumer the support they need to make the habit changes to have sustainable health and wellness. What this also does too is for the consumer, for the retailers, if they're busy in store or if they have new staff, because a lot of the time it's transient, you got like kids coming in or people working, they can scan it and watch the video. Every product has a 60-second video where Cole's notes tell you exactly what this product does. It's lowered our return rate for one thing, because people know what they're buying, right? Yeah. And then also we've just had incredible success with people who actually scan the QR code, use the recipes, do the workouts, really learn about whatever issue they're buying in, like they're buying the product to help them alleviate. So they're like, oh, okay, hormonal health. Oh, and we have a thing on perimenopause and PMS. And then we go into the 4 cycles of a woman's cycle. Then we go into, we just have so much content in there to help educate the consumer. So that's a really a huge differentiating factor. That's what got me on Dragon's Den, because I'm the only one doing something like that.
And 3 offers. That's insane.
Yeah. I said yes to Arlene. I knew I wasn't going to take the offer anyways. I was never going to give anybody part of my company. Yeah. I'm 100% bootstrapped and I own it all. And eventually I will, obviously need to have maybe possibly somebody come in outside investment eventually. I'd rather not. I'd rather keep it to myself as much as I can. That's where the true value is, I think. But we had some great conversations. I talked with her for over a year. So before you go on the show, I mean, you could tell them you're making $20 million a year. They don't do any due diligence before the show. It's after the show, when you meet with your dragon, that then they start doing due diligence. And I wanted them to come back and give me the offer, because they could come back and see that everything doesn't add up and be like, oh, your company's not doing this. We're not offering you. So December, we filmed in May. December, they came through, they offered me everything. And I said, no, thank you very much. I just wanted to kind of get through it all. And I also wanted to see how she went about it. I had several meetings with her. She's lovely. I have the utmost respect for her, because I know when I get to a certain point, I really want to work with female entrepreneurs as well. And I already do. I do a lot of mentorship, but I'd like to be able to invest in somebody else and not be the person that's like slugging away in the field.
Yeah, fair enough.
You
Right?
know? So
Can't bust your ass all the time.
Right. I can just like watch and support and, watch my money grow.
I mean, if you know the show, you know how crazy that is, right? 3 offers on Dragon's Den. Aeryon was also open to talking about everything and anything. Her love for the Canucks and the Raptors, Taylor Swift's influence, the Super Bowl, wanting to be famous as a teenager, binge watching Love is Blind with her kid, overcoming an eating disorder. She talked about growing up in a super Christian household, touched on her time working in radio in Vancouver at Pulse 107. She shared one of the scariest near-death stories ever told on this podcast involving a gun. And with someone like Aeryon, you've got to ask about career highlights.
Oh gosh, I have so many. Winning Launchpad at CHFA was definitely a career highlight. So we won Innovative Product of the Year with Up and Away, which is our 100% boric acid. I was the very first company in Canada to launch a kit with an applicator in a box. And okay, I'll tell you the story behind it, because I spoke about it the other day at the summit. So I spoke at the summit for the forum, and I talked about rock bottoms. And I said, one of my rock bottoms, this is my favorite rock bottom. So it's my favorite rock bottom, but my favorite highlight as well. So I had been dating somebody for quite some time. We had a long-term monogamous relationship. He didn't get the memo on that. And the last
kind of gave it away there.
Our relationship, he was with everybody. And the worst part was everybody knew but me. And I remember crying to my mom on the phone, and just like, I was devastated. My body ached, just like I was just devastated. He lived with us. So it was my daughter that was affected as well. It was just awful. And my mom's like, it's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. I'm like, Mom, everybody knew. Everybody knew but me. It was so embarrassing. And then she's like, everything's going to be okay. I'm like, okay, it can't get any worse. But 2 weeks later, I found out he gave me chlamydia. So then, I did 2 rounds of antibiotics just to be safe. So chlamydia, everything's fine. But then what ended up happening is it decimated my vaginal pH. So a woman's vagina is supposed to be a 3.5, super acidic. If it becomes more alkaline, that's when you become a yeast infection. That's itchy, discharge, uncomfortable, no fun. That's around a 5, right? So we're 3.5. If it goes up to around a 5, that's yeast infection. If it becomes more alkaline, you get bacterial vaginosis. So know how your listeners are like, wonderful. What are we learning today? So there's no.
They're like, what a way to wrap this up.
No, itchy and uncomfortable, but there's a smell to it. It's still no fun. So after round and round of antibiotics for that, 6 months worth, I finally scored an appointment with a gynecologist, and I walked in and shared my vaginal and emotional woes and everything. And she just was like, boric acid. I'm like, what? And she's like, boric acid. At the time, nobody sold any. So I drove from pharmacy to pharmacy to pharmacy, finding somewhere to compound it for me. And I got my boric acid, put it in my little drawer. It worked within 2 days. It was amazing. I was like, wow, this stuff is incredible. Fast forward 5 years later, I'd started Aeryon Wellness. I was driving across the Lionsgate Bridge just before you hit the lines when you're coming into downtown. And this thought came to my mind. It was like, is anybody selling boric acid? Because it wasn't a prescription. I scored the NPN for it. Natural product number, which is what you have to have. I struggled with the name because a lot of the name in that category are vaggie or gyna, and I'm like, not doing that. I was making my bed, and in my mind, I went up and away as I threw my duvet in the air, and I was like, it's up and away, because you put it up and it goes away. It's a vaginal suppository. So 4 months later, I found myself on stage pitching to 150 retailers and judges. It's kind of like our version of Dragon's Den. And I had on the screen, whenever the word vagina came up, everybody had to scream vagina, which you don't know how much people love to scream that word. So everybody screamed vagina, and I went on to win $25,000. I won Innovative Product of the Year, and I was able to dedicate it to Michaela, my daughter, because she is the one who sacrifices the most in my venture, because I'm always focusing on work. So that would have been a high moment, but it was a rock bottom. So I also say this too. I'm like, I've never been so happy that somebody cheated on me and gave me chlamydia. It's my number 3 best-selling product. I make a ton of money on it. I've helped women all across Canada. And the irony is he owns a health food store now. And I've always wondered if he carries up and away and he has no idea that it came from him.
Right. He very well could. That'd be hilarious.
That was definitely a highlight and a great story to always know that these rock bottom moments when we think there is no hope, that they are the moments we can learn and grow, and we need them. Whenever I get one now, when I have something really challenging show up, I'm like, okay, what am I going to learn this time? So I view it in a very different light.
Toddcast Podcast entertainment guest visits are powered by Thrive Management, an event staffing agency that provides staffing services across Calgary, Edmonton, Toronto, Ottawa, and all of BC. Find out more at thrivemanagement.ca.
Such a mess. This masochistic tried to fix it. This is me at my best. And I made peace with your deceptions and discussions. I'm so stupid, but I'm sorry. I noticed that you didn't even care. And I'm cut to pieces. Oh, I'm falling here or there. Shut in, shut out. You said you didn't mind. I'm the one you leave behind, and nobody seemed to care. I'll follow you anywhere. And I'm so sick of scratching, hurt you laughing. You just kicked me around. You built me up so high, the next day you just burn me back down. And contrary to popular belief, it's all over. Forget about it. I'm sorry, I know that. Just fucked me around, and I made peace with your deceptions and discussions. I'm so stupid, but you shut it, shut it. You said you didn't mind. If I'm the one you leave behind, and nobody seemed to care.
Still stands the test of time. What an absolute monster for those guys, called The Turn and Cut to Pieces, one of their biggest songs. That's Patrick Gavigan from Best Night Ever, his old band. Back in the day, I actually managed that band with a company I had called He Shoots, He Scores Entertainment, which I owned with Dave Brenner from Theory of a Dead Man. We actually got them a fair amount of radio play with that song across the country here in Canada at most big rock stations in the country. Just a crushing band. I always thought that there were elements of Tool in their stuff. Anyway, Patrick, The Turn's singer, Best Night Ever's singer, is part of our 10th anniversary party next month, January 31st at Blue Light Studio. You might want to grab some tickets right now. There are a handful of tickets left, but They will not last long. If you want to make sure you get in, grab a ticket at eventbrite.ca, eventbrite.ca. Only $20. Would love to see you there supporting our 10th anniversary bash. Looking forward to next week, our final podcast of 2024, another year in review, the second half of the year. You'll hear another 9 guests and some highlights from their visits to the podcast. Of course, a huge thanks, a big thanks to all of our guests this week for jumping on Zooms and being part of our year. And that's going to do it for this one, episode 352. Again, my name is Todd Hancock. Thank you so much for being there, for listening. If you like what you heard, please do tell your friends about what we do here. We are part of the Realm.fm network, Realm.fm. Check those guys out. Massive network through fiction, nonfiction. You can subscribe to us on iTunes, Spotify, SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts, pretty much wherever you get podcasts, I guess. Check out the videos that we post through our YouTube channel. Comment and rate the podcast. That helps out big time with search results. Search us out through what else? Toddcast Podcast. A huge thank you to all of our incredible sponsors. You can find links to all sponsor websites at toddhancock.ca. If you're interested in sponsoring the podcast with your business, you can. It's super affordable, just $10 a day, starting out at $10 a day. All the details are at the homepage. All right, so maybe we'll talk soon, have a beer, have a coffee, see what's up. If you help us find a sponsor, as always, we will give you a commission. All right, so keep that in mind. If you know a business that gets outside of the box advertising, lots of social media love, send them our way. We'll take it from there, okay? Till next time, don't be an asshole. Nobody wants to be around that. Nobody. Have fun, play hard, and most of all, believe in yourself.
You've been listening to the Toddcast Podcast, powered by Citywide Mortgage Services, dedicated to helping you find the best mortgage rates. Available 7 days a week at citywidemortgage.ca.
Now, before you go hunting for something else to listen to, let me make it easy. I'm Mike Carruthers, host of a podcast called Something You Should Know, and I speak with experts about fascinating things that affect your life, from human behavior, relationships, health, science, and everyday mysteries. We've been downloaded millions of times because every episode teaches you something you'll be talking about later. Open up Something You Should Know and give it one episode. You might just find your new favorite podcast.
Do you love Disney? Do you love top 10 lists? Then you're going to love our podcast, Disney Countdown. Hi, I'm Megan, the Magical Millennial.
And Biscuits, I'm Jeremy, aka Jarendell, and we are the hosts of the hit Disney podcast, Disney Countdown.
On every episode of our fun and family-friendly show, we count down our top 10 lists of all things Disney. The parks, the movies, the music, the food, the lore. There is nothing we don't cover on our show, right, Jeremy?
Ooh, girl, you know we are famous for rabbit holes, Disney-themed games, and fun facts you didn't know you needed, but you definitely need in your life. So if you are looking for a healthy dose of Disney magic, check out Disney Countdown wherever you get your podcasts.
Reality TV is messy. Pop culture is louder than ever. And the internet, completely unhinged. Welcome to Roxanne and Chantel, the podcast where cousins Roxanne and Chantel break down reality TV, celebrity drama, and the stories everyone's texting about. We recap the shows, spill the headlines, and sit down with the stars themselves. No filter, no boring takes, just the tea. New episodes every week. If it's trending, we're talking about it. This is Roxanne and Chantel. Let's get into it.